Welcome to the lab. I'm Dr. Chem, and today we're decoding the invisible mixtures hiding in our food using the absolutely elegant technique of paper chromatography. Quick flyover for today's explainer. We're going to hit the principles of phases and partition, check out the lab setup, walk step by step through the procedure, crunch some numbers to calculate the RF value, and then wrap up with real-world applications and a quick Viva review. To kick things off, consider this. When you look at the vibrant coloring on your favorite candy, are your eyes actually deceiving you? Is that green dye really just green, or is it a sneaky mixture of other colors hiding in plain sight? Well, today we're going to extract those colors and prove exactly what they're made of. All right, first up, the principles of phases and partition. Paper chromatography works on the principle of partition chromatography. You can kind of think of it as a sort of molecular tug-of-war. Essentially, it's an analytical technique where separation happens because the components of a mixture distribute themselves differently between two things: a stationary phase that stays put and a mobile phase that's on the move. And here are the two sides of that tug-of-war. The stationary phase acts kind of like a sticky floor, and the mobile phase acts like a moving walkway, pulling the components along. Specifically, our stationary phase is actually water molecules tightly absorbed onto the cellulose fibers of our filter paper. The mobile phase, that's our solvent mixture, which travels upward through the paper via capillary action. Depending on their chemical polarity, some dyes prefer to stick to that stationary water, while others totally prefer to hitch a ride with the moving solvent. Moving right along to our materials and lab setup. Now, you really don't need highly complex machinery here. Just these precise materials will act as our complete chemical detective kit. We're using a sheet of Wattman filter paper, a glass beaker to act as our developing chamber, a standard pencil, and a scale, a tiny glass capillary tube for spotting the dye, the extracted food color samples, and of course our liquid solvent. That solvent could be a mix of ethanol and water, say 70% ethanol and 30% water, or even just a dilute salt solution depending on the specific protocol we're running. Notice how carefully the baseline and ink spots are marked out here with a pencil? This is absolutely crucial, because pen ink would just run and ruin the whole shebang. You want neat, evenly spaced dots about 2 centimeters from the bottom edge. Graphite from a pencil doesn't dissolve in our solvent, so that starting line will stay perfectly in place while the dyes migrate up the paper. Okay, let's get into the step-by-step lab procedure. These first 3 steps are all about careful preparation. We start by drawing that horizontal pencil baseline. Then, using our capillary tube, we place a tiny drop of our food color directly onto the line. Let it dry completely, and then repeat this 2 or 3 times. You see, a small, really dark spot gives us the absolute best resolution. Finally, we pour just a small amount of our solvent into the bottom of the chamber. Next, we initiate the run. We suspend the paper vertically in our beaker, making absolutely sure the baseline isn't submerged. Keep the spot above the liquid pool. We cover the chamber to trap the vapors and then just watch as the solvent climbs up, magically separating our single spot into a rainbow of distinct colored bands. Once that liquid gets near the top edge, we pull the paper out, grab our pencil to draw a line right where the wet solvent stopped, and let the whole thing dry. So what does this all mean? The crucial takeaway here is that components more soluble in the mobile phase solvent actually move farther. It gives us a beautiful, measurable separation. For example, if we separated a green dye, we might see a blue component racing to the top because it dissolves so easily in the moving solvent. A yellow component, it might stop somewhere in the middle. Meanwhile, a red dye, being least soluble in the solvent and way more attracted to the wet stationary paper, would barely move from the starting line. Next up, calculating the RF value. Now we transition from visual observation to hard math by calculating our retention factor, or RF value. As the definition shows, this is just the ratio of the distance traveled by the solute to the distance traveled by the solvent front. This gives us a unique numerical fingerprint for every single dye in our mixture, definitively confirming its identity. Because different chemical compounds have different affinities for the mobile and stationary phases, this ratio will be specific to a particular dye in a particular solvent system. To take these physical measurements, we grab our scale and measure from that original starting pencil line straight up to the exact middle of our separated color spot. That gives us our top number, distance A. Then we measure from that exact same starting line all the way up to the solvent front mark we made at the very end of the run. That becomes our bottom number, distance B. Let's do the math real quick. If our isolated dye traveled 4 centimeters and the solvent reached 8 centimeters, our calculated RF value is a clean 0.5. Notice that this value is a completely dimensionless ratio, and it will always fall somewhere between 0 and 1. We can then take this 0.5, compare it against a textbook table of known food dye standards, and boom, we reveal exactly which commercial dye we just isolated. It's a real game changer.
All right, let's wrap things up with some applications and a quick Viva review.
Far beyond just testing candy, this exact technique is heavily used out in the real world. Forensic chemists use it daily for ink analysis on things like ransom notes, and scientists use it for vital drug testing. It's heavily relied upon by regulatory agencies for food color analysis just to make sure no prohibited or toxic dyes are secretly making their way into our processed foods. Biochemists even use variations of this to pull apart complex amino acids or to analyze plant pigments. It's incredibly versatile. But to get those professional analytical results, we scientists must rigidly adhere to some crucial laboratory precautions. We already know to strictly use a pencil, not a pen. But we also have to ensure our spot is tiny and concentrated so the colors don't just smear into an unreadable mess. We must keep the solvent level below the baseline. We absolutely have to keep our chamber sealed to prevent uneven evaporation. And finally, mark that solvent front immediately before it vanishes as the paper dries. Okay, let's do a quick Viva knowledge check for the students out there. Can you remember what exactly acts as the stationary phase in paper chromatography? Think carefully about the chemical makeup of that filter paper we're using. If you said the paper, you're close, but not quite. The answer is the water molecules absorbed onto the cellulose paper. It's not just the dry paper itself. The cellulose just provides the structural backbone, but the actual molecular tug-of-war, that's happening between the moving solvent and that invisible trapped layer of water. All right, here's another critical Viva question. And honestly, this is a mistake that completely ruins so many beginner experiments. Why must the sample spot remain above the solvent level? What's the disaster waiting to happen if you fill your beaker too high? To prevent the dissolution of the sample right into the solvent reservoir. Basically, if it dips below the line, your dye simply washes away into the beaker instead of climbing up the paper. You want the mobile phase to creep up through the dye spot, not drown it entirely. If you submerge that baseline, your sample just bleeds out into the liquid pool at the bottom, and your paper will stay totally blank. Definitely not what we want. So as you look around your incredibly colorful world today, ask yourself, what other invisible chemical mixtures are hiding in plain sight around you, just waiting to be separated? Thank you for joining me in the lab for this explainer, and keep exploring the fascinating chemistry hidden right in front of your eyes.